Books can only distract the kids for so long. My wife and I team up to take on some of the best things streaming has to offer. Welcome back for more of Our Thoughts. No time for binging. We continue through the Umbrella Academy Season 1. This time with Episode 6, entitled The Day That Wasn't. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share this video with someone who might like it. And hit that notification bell. We start in Vietnam, 1968. Klaus shows up in a flash of light, right at the start of a bomb raid. The soldiers start moving in every direction, and Klaus is immediately given army stuff to wear. He makes friends with Dave immediately on that bus. We flash to a 60s style dance party. This scene is actually really cool, because they're displaying how Klaus and Dave fell in love, with minimal words. And you can tell they have a deep connection. This montage isn't as good as the opening montage from the movie Up, but I mean, come on. Nothing will ever compare to Carl and Ellie. Present day, we find Klaus flushing drugs down the toilet. Luther tells him it's time for another family meeting. Yeah, no time for that. World's ending in 3 days. Wednesday at 8:15 a.m. This is the first time they've displayed the time and day. Why did they do that? Luther fills in the siblings on what Five told him about the destruction of the world. They all died trying to stop it. An umbrella falls and pops open to reveal the show title, Hazel and Cha-Cha at another crappy motel. Pneumatic tube time. This time in a mini fridge. The contract on number 5 has been terminated. They realize 5 made a deal with the commission. And then Hazel and Cha-Cha begin arguing. Hazel's done with all this work. He's done with the next mission. He needs some sucrose. And while he's gone, Cha-Cha gets a message to terminate Hazel. These two just don't interest me as much as the others in the show. My wife disagrees. I believe they have a fun dynamic. Would you rather be watching more of Luther and Allison? Touché, wife. Touché. 5 with the handler in 1955. The handler says the commission works in support of a delicate balance between the timeline of events and mankind's free will. My wife says the commission knows they don't have ultimate control, but they're trying to control the trajectory of time. They need to stay on course. It doesn't appear that they care about mankind's free will. However, they're only concerned with the big things and not the day-to-day decisions in everyone's life, unless the day-to-day decisions change the big picture. But those little decisions are all about what the butterfly effect truly is. That one small decision may have ripple effects that eventually turn into something big that no one could see coming unless they could study the timeline outside of time. The commission doesn't care if you want to make another choice, because they see it as vital as you making the choice they want. Wife again. But the commission doesn't make you make a choice. They eliminate people to influence the timeline. Basically, if you make a choice that will affect their timeline, you're dead. I don't know whether to say stalemate or checkmate. The handler then mentions about stepping in whenever somebody chooses the wrong path. Who decides if it's the right path or the wrong path? We're really getting into the inner workings of some messed up stuff. The handler does confirm present day is 2019. Wait, was 5 given the Hindenburg job again? I thought he did that one. Unless I was wrong. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. Hey, there's a briefcase room. That's pretty funny. Seeing all these people work at typewriters really shows the bureaucracy of this place. Vanya and Leonard show up at the mansion. This is a bad idea. The peanut butter to her jelly? Gross. It's like he wants me to hate him. Leonard is acting like a fanboy in the mansion when Vanya isn't watching. What's going on? It's a family matter. There's gotta be an Urkel reference here somewhere. Vanya is showing a lot more emotion in this scene, telling off her family for not being invited. She goes to leave. Leonard left his jacket. Why the heck would you put your jacket down in another room? How long did you think you were gonna be there? Don't trust him. Luther believes the end of the world has to do with the moon. He was sending their dad daily updates. But the logic is perhaps they follow a different path, since they all died the first time. Leonard steals a figurine? Which one did he steal? Everyone leaves. Luther again is the last one remaining. Vanya and Leonard walking down the street. Vanya is screaming. While they're walking, Vanya's power kicks in, causing these street lamps to bend and these car alarms to go off. First, Why were they walking in the middle of the street? That's rude. Second, it's the first time I've noticed, but all the cars look like they're from the late 80s, early 90s, despite the year being 2019. This really backs up my theory on technology having stopped developing at some point. Does this technology gap have something to do with the kids all being born on the same day in 1989? There's no cell phones, just landlines. No internet, just microfilm and books. Did their birth have something to do with the stop in the advancement of technology? We're to assume that Leonard's known that Vanya's had power, but he's trying to get her to realize it for herself. I'm just really peeved that they continue walking down the middle of the street. Diego needs help tying his shoe. Klaus will help as long as Diego ties him up after. He wants his options taken away from him so he doesn't do drugs. Mr. 5, that's awesome. I must have utter silence to complete this task. The office feel to this place is really unnerving. I don't like it. 5 finishes his task and goes to the pneumatic tube room, but he's not allowed to send a message. That's not procedure. 5 steals a file and hides in the bathroom. The handler comes in. Apparently co-ed bathrooms? She does a marathon pee. This is such a weird scene. She then invites him to lunch and eventually peeks over the stall? What is with these people? By the way, if you looked in the toilet after the handler stood up, there was no pee in there. I want attention to detail! Hazel and Cha-Cha drive into the woods. The woods combined with this piano music makes the scene really feel like something from Old Yeller. Have you even seen Old Yeller? Nope. Hazel has a sense of knowing what's about to happen. He stops to tie his shoe. Is he clearly setting a trap? Wife believes he's accepting his fate, but at the time we don't know about the extra set of instructions. It seems Hazel takes one last shot at convincing Cha-Cha not to kill him. The scene cuts before we know what happens. I mean, come on. It's not too hard to figure out that she didn't do it. There's the storyline with Agnes to wrap up. The storyline of these two not being very interesting to me. Luther tearing things apart in the mansion. He's looking for the reports that he sent his father from the moon. Pogo tells him where all of it is. His CGI is still distracting, and we find out that every single report that Luther has sent from the moon has been left untouched and unread. Sir Reggie apparently sent Luther to the moon to give him purpose? Is Luther gaining my sympathy for the first time? Allison, about to leave, picks up the A&L locket, which leads us to flashback. It's young Allison and Luther in the greenhouse on the top of the mansion. The two of them have had this secret relationship. Young Allison brought young Luther to the roof to dance. They never get a chance to dance because Sir Reggie catches them. Fun and games are scheduled for Saturdays from noon to 12:30 noon. Sir Reggie forbids them from having a relationship, and you know Luther is the one to follow orders. Diego tying up Klaus in the attic. While chit-chatting, Diego asks the name of the girl that Klaus lost. Klaus admits to his brother his name. Klaus has such a beautiful description of their love. Quality bro time before the end of the world. Diego's definitely earning his number 3 spot in my heart. Crap, Klaus has to pee. This is the second pee reference in this episode. Wife wonders. Ben left the scene at one point. Where did he go? Why did he go? Ben seemingly left when Klaus said that line about quality bro time. Has Ben always been with Klaus because Klaus has always needed a connection to the family? And when Klaus bonds with another family member, Klaus turns off his conjuring of Ben? Back to Leonard and Vanya. Leonard tries to explain that Vanya's mood controls her power. Knowing that Leonard has had the journal this entire time makes everything he say have an extra layer of creepiness. The handler and 5. They're making a new body for 5? Then we won't have this actor anymore. 5 wants to change the protocol about the tubes. He wants to be able to send messages on his own. And the handler is handed a report. Ooh, not good. Allison and Luther. Luther sulking. Allison says goodbye. Luther has completely lost his confidence. Allison tries to cheer him up by bringing him to the roof greenhouse where their tent is still set up. They're trying to do this cute scene of Luther trying to get into the tent. Allison has the very soda that they were supposed to drink all those years ago as kids. And it tastes horrible, and the tent collapses, like my expectations. Wife still thinks they're cute. I did not say that. You were thinking it, and I'm nauseated. Allison talks about all the things that they can do now that Sir Reggie isn't around. One of the places they mention is the real world. It makes me realize that Luther has not spent any time in the real world with his new giant gorilla body. body. Cha-Cha burns the instructions to kill Hazel. Is it sentimentality, or is she coming over to his way of thinking? She goes to find Hazel at the diner, only to find him in the back alley having a cute scene with Agnes. Is she gonna kill him now? Klaus and Diego in the attic. Klaus has apparently used the bathroom. He's coming up with every excuse in the book not to be tied up, like a child not wanting to go to bed. His negotiations are no match for Diego's fists. Klaus falls over in the chair, and we awesomely transition back to Vietnam 1968. It's the day Dave died. Klaus's relationship with Dave is by far the best relationship on this show, and they barely show him interacting with Dave. I dare say, number 1, Klaus Dave. Number 2, 5 Dolores. Number 3, Eudora Diego. Yeah, that's right. First one's dead, second one's a mannequin, third one's dead. 4th, Hazel Agnes. 5, Allison Luther. 6, Vanya Leonard. Facts. My wife actually kind of agrees. That's the closest you'll ever get to me agreeing with you. Diego finds their mom dusting. Oh right, he didn't know that she was alive again. He asks the last thing she remembers, and she rounds off stuff about dinner and the weather. Pogo gives her a glaring look, and she changes the subject by wanting to take a walk. What is going on? What the heck is Luther eating? 10 hot dogs? Ridiculous. They have a dumb conversation that is supposed to be heartwarming. Allison has to leave, but before she does, Luther wants to dance. What follows is what I assume is supposed to be a romantic and fun scene. But all I can think of is this is really, 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 really dumb. I get it. This is Luther's dream. He's comfortable with who he is. He can dance with Allison and keep up with her. He's loose and easygoing and confident, especially compared to the first episode. But it's dumb. Klaus and Dave dancing at the beginning of this episode was infinitely better and so much shorter. Wife believes that I was too worked up to be argued with. I think that's just called picking your battles. Wife did say that this scene felt like a romantic movie rather than the Umbrella Academy. This dream sequence ends in a real kiss. Allison tries to convince Luther to leave with her. 5, back at the commission. Apparently they're wise to 5 being up to something. 5 knocks out Gloria the Tube Lady to find out what was about to be sent to Hazel and Cha-Cha. Their next order was to protect Harold Jenkins. Who is Harold Jenkins? 5 quickly types out the order for Cha-Cha to terminate Hazel, the one we saw earlier in the episode. They intersplice scenes of Cha-Cha going into the motel room, mad at Hazel for his relationship with Agnes, and she fires away into the shower only to find it empty, with an identical order for Hazel to terminate Cha-Cha. This was awesome. Hazel knocks out Cha-Cha. The handler finds 5 messing around. She finds Gloria knocked out. The handler fires away at 5. And again, interspliced scenes. Mom walking with Diego explaining that she and Pogo have been lying to the kids. Vanya finds Sir Reggie's journal at Leonard's. What we read is that Sir Reggie had notes on Vanya and her powers, saying that they may be unlimited, uncontrollable, and dangerous, and her ability should remain a secret for the greater good. Then there are methods for limiting her powers, which include mood-altering medications, and a note about suppressing her confidence. More on that later. The handler keeps trying to hunt down 5. Klaus wakes up in the attic to see Dave. 5 has a grenade. He just blew up the pneumatic tube room. He steals a suitcase. He just blew up the suitcase room. Wait, what? Wait, what is happening? No, the whole episode is going backwards. No, we're back at Wednesday at 8:15 a.m. That's why they showed us the time at the beginning. 5 shows up with the briefcase in the middle of the family meeting. This whole episode has been undone. 5 gives the siblings a pep talk about saving the world together. 5 knows who is responsible. Who the hell is Harold Jenkins? That's what I said. Considering the title of this episode, the show was giving us full warning from the beginning that this day wasn't supposed to happen this way. As a viewer, you can only tip your hat to the cleverness and accept your own fate of having to relive this day. Okay, I have to unpack a few things. The title of the episode was a huge spoiler, but what an ending. This has got to be my favorite episode thus far. So Vanya ends up not telling off her siblings, doesn't discover that she has power yet, and doesn't discover Sir Reggie's journal in Leonard's house. Klaus doesn't get clean right away, and he doesn't get to see Dave. Luther and Allison don't have that scene of them dancing. Yes! But more impactfully, they don't reconnect and love. and try to run off together. Diego and Mom don't take that walk in the park, and she doesn't admit that her and Pogo have been lying. Since Five still sent those messages to Hazel and Cha-Cha, I believe that it is within reason to believe their incident in the motel room still happens. So back to Vanya. Sir Reggie knew that she had power that was way too much. He purposefully sedated her through medication, and purposefully ruined her confidence through the way that he raised her. At first, her power was just reverberations, but now her power can bend and move heavy objects. The more the meds get out of her system, are we going to see the uncontrollable nature of her power that Sir Reggie alluded to? If Sir Reggie was so scared of her power, then he must have seen it at some point. But clearly none of the rest of the children did. I've thought that the secret that Mom and Pogo were hiding was how Sir Reggie died. But could Vanya's power also play a role in that secret? By the sound of it, my kids have finished their bag of apples. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Share with someone who might like this. And join us next time as we review episode 7, entitled The Day That Was.